Okay. Anyway. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on today's webinar. You are right on time, and I love it when you're right on time. I just want to give everybody 1 minute to get in here because this is a pretty big day today. We're retiring one of the greatest buzzwords in automotive digital marketing history, the greatest of all time, the GOAT, if you will, and we're raising it up to the rafters. And we're going to tell you why it's time. It's just past its prime and where we're going to go from here. I really just want to thank you guys for making the time to join us here today. We're together. We're going to observe the last days of digital retailing. And I can't believe I just said that. I mean, this is actually starting to get real here. I'm going to try to keep it together, be a professional host the best that I can and not get too emotional. But hello, I'm Jason Stum, and I am the Director of Strategy at Dealer Inspire. And for those of you who might be meeting us for just the first or second time, we are Dealer Inspire, and I'm just one of 600 passionate employees on a mission to future-proof dealerships with one connected platform that sells and services more vehicles more efficiently. And today we are here to observe the last day of digital retailing and, more importantly, what comes next. But what does that mean, and what does your dealership need to do about it? Well, stick around, kids, because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about here today. And I am not going to do this alone. No way. Not today. I'm going to need a helping hand or three. So I'm calling in the all-stars for this one to break it all down for us step by step. So let me just turn my camera off here real quick. First up, we have Senior Director of Client Services, Valentine Copjo. We have a returning guest in Ron Andrews, our Senior Director of Enterprise Strategy. And lastly, we have the product owner of Online Shopper, Joe Nicole. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here today on this totally momentous occasion. How are you guys hanging up on this rather emotional day? You guys doing all right?
I'm ready to rock it out.
You know what? There's something I didn't tell you, and don't be mad at me. I may have forgot to mention that during today's webinar, we're going to play a couple rounds of Whose Lead Is It Anyway?, where you'll be given real-life, made-up digital showroom scenarios for you to manage and respond to in real time. This is going to be so fun. Are you guys excited for this or what?
Overjoyed.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Oh my God. I don't know if I believe Jonah's overjoyed. And again, sorry for the curveball. I was just afraid that if I told you we were going to be playing Whose Lead Is It Anyway, you wouldn't come on the webinar. So, hi, surprise. Okay, let's do this. Let's keep this rolling. Ron and Jonah, if you wouldn't mind turning your cameras off for now so I can get back on here. And Val, you stick right there with me because I want to talk to you about some of this stuff. There we go. And back. Okay, so I think it's important before we start talking about what's next, or more importantly, what's now, we kind of look back on the storied career of digital retailing. And Val, you remember this, right? It's like 2015, which is hard to believe. That's almost 6 years ago now. And consumers are saying, hey, why can't you buy a car online? And enough dealers are saying, I wonder how you sell a car online. So it only made sense for us to develop a tool that would allow for that to happen. And we were lucky enough to work with some really innovative and forward-thinking car dealers in those early stages of development that helped us craft our tool and make it so that both the customer and the salesperson could use it to make car shopping faster and more efficient. And by 2016, that first version of Online Shopper, it literally let shoppers complete the entire purchase process online, from a personalized shopping experience to customizing payment options with real-time bank rates, all the way to adding in F&I products, uploading pictures of your trade-in, getting credit approval, and scheduling time for delivery. It was like truly awesome, and it was truly everything. But remember, this is 2016, and Val, what I wanted to ask you here is, back in this time, what did we see in terms of use with Online Shopper in those early days?
Well, Jason, I think looking back, we may have been a little ahead of our time with Online Shopper. We did see some pretty huge gaps in engagement, both from dealers who were using it and from the actual shoppers too. And turns out the coolest part of the tech with the F&I product integration, trade-in, credit approval, delivery schedule, they really weren't being used by shoppers. And actually less than 1% of all customers that engage with the tool went beyond the payment screen.
Yeah, so even if we were like a little too soon there was still a valuable takeaway, which was, customers really just wanted to play with payments, which totally makes a lot of sense because they really hadn't had a chance to do that accurately on any dealership, OEM, or third-party website before. So that in and of itself is kind of a big deal, right?
Totally, yes. So not only was Online Shopper data showing that people wanted to answer that "can I afford it" question, But Cars.com even conducted a survey to verify that being able to understand if a shopper can afford the vehicle they're interested in a personal and meaningful way is the most important thing that they need to confirm before they ever contact or visit a dealership. So knowing that, we tweaked Online Shopper to really focus on the personalized payment, and that was the aspect of the shopping experience that people really cared about.
Yeah, and wow, that worked. Like that really, really worked. It worked better than anything else. So by 2018, we're seeing like a 3x lead increase on our websites that we're using Online Shopper, and it seemed like this perfect win-win scenario. Customers were getting that critical payment information that they needed to educate themselves, and dealers were getting like a ton of leads to follow up with. And not just any lead, mind you, but like super leads, that contain more customer information than ever before. So instead of only getting a lead that said, hey, maybe I might want to buy a car, you have a customer saying, I'm going to finance this Jetta with $3,000 down. I want my payments under $300 a month. I've got this older Accord that I'm going to trade in. So really in 2018, to give a customer a modern retailing experience, all you really had to do was just read your lead comments. And Val, again, I just want to get your take. What did you and your team see happening on the ground level as these Online Shopper super leads are being pumped into dealer CRMs?
Well, I'll go back to that 75% stat that I just mentioned. I mean, Online Shopper was aligning perfectly with the mindset of the customer. Shoppers are using the tools on the websites to personalize their payments. They feel great about where they're landing, and then they're more likely to take that natural next step of actually contacting the dealer. However, from time to time, that customer just showed up at the dealership unannounced, and the salesperson would just treat them like a fresh up and really not recognize how much of the process they had already completed online, and maybe not even knowing that there was a way to look in the CRM to find that person. So the salesperson would start them right back up at step one of the in-store road to sale process. And honestly, it didn't make the customer feel good. It just created a big breach in trust that would be challenging to overcome. Jason, it would be like if you ordered a pizza with all your favorite toppings, you went to pick it up and they go, great, what kind of pizza do you want? Without them having any record of your order.
Right. And if you did that and they didn't, you would probably just leave, right? And go get your gummy worm pineapple pizza somewhere else.
Yep.
So certainly a challenge there, and definitely disconnected experience. So, we could see this consumer behavior and technology was evolving, and maybe some, not all, but some dealers maybe were just a step behind. By 2019, though, the writing was pretty much on the wall. Consumers wanted something more, and it really opened up an opportunity for disruptors. I've used like air quotes 19 times in this webinar already. Note to self, stop it. The disruptors to heavy up on their marketing and advertising, touting like this 100% online car buying process, and say what you want about them, but it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
It totally does. And the driver of this is obvious. The instant gratification era is here to stay. Whether it's meals, groceries, movies, doctor's appointment, entertainment, whatever, by 2019, what couldn't you do on your phone?
Nothing except make a phone call, I guess, because but I never make phone calls. I use my phone for everything else except for calling people. So as consumers, we're engaging in these types of experiences on a daily basis, right? And here at Dealer Inspire in 2019, we're working on aligning Online Shopper to have an experience that feels familiar to like the interactions users have every day with their device. And then comes 2020, and well, everything had to go virtual. And I know some dealers were put in a position where they had to figure out real fast how to best use their technology to adapt to this new stay-at-home, contact-free reality, right?
Absolutely. I mean, some of our clients didn't even have tools on their website, and many who did, they really hadn't used them beyond lead generation. So it took a lot of concentrated effort to help get everybody up to speed. But I will say, here we are a year later, and one thing you can't deny is that the pandemic accelerated the adoption of technology for dealers and consumers. And really, there's no going back from here.
Yeah, that's a genie you're not going to put back in the proverbial bottle. And when we look back over the past year, we can see this rapid change taking place. I mean, just on our end, we saw a 43% increase in Online Shopper adoption from our dealers. Over on Cars.com, 20 million plus vehicles were marked with virtual appointment and home delivery badging. And our team created over 1,000 videos for our clients to use on their websites and their marketing campaigns to showcase this upgraded level of customer service amidst the pandemic. And that takes us all the way up here to 2021. So we're coming out of the pandemic, And really the hard-hitting question we're asking is, does the term digital retailing even have a place in our lingo anymore? And the answer to this mostly rhetorical question is no. And these truly are the last days of digital retailing. So Val, stick with me here. Ron, let's get you on camera, my man, because I want to chat you up about this. Let's look at this. And why is it time, Ron Andrews, to tip our cap and say goodbye to digital retailing?
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Digital is no longer different or a separate experience. I think everyone expects online and in-store to have the same seamless, easy experience. And to make that happen, we really need to fuse the people, the product, and the process together to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, before we can move forward, let's just take one last look at the stats. It's hard to deny that digital retailing is quite possibly the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the buzziest of buzzwords that have dominated our industry for the past half decade or so. There's some great ones up here: snackable content, big data, going viral. When it comes to digital retailing and the the shadow it cast over our landscape, how do you think it stacks up against some of the other buzzwords from the past 10 years?
I think it's on its way out the door.
What about you, Ron?
I think we had to call it something because what it represented was a pretty monumental change, especially for like sales managers and sales associates who've been in the car business for a really long time. We had to brand it as something to help that adoption process go a little smoother. Fortunately, I think we're to the point now where we can start looking at it a little bit differently. And I think we all understand this is here and it's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And let's see what that looks like now. So Ron, digital retailing, we're retiring it. We just alluded to it. You just alluded to it. What are we left with?
Well, I guess what I might say, it might be a little bit shocking, but it's really just retailing. It's fast, convenient, and stress-free experience. And it's honestly what your customers expect. It's something that we have across every other industry and everything else that we do online, right? So the car shopping process should basically, be the exact same thing. But if we had to call it something, let's just call it modern retailing, which I think is simply just taking advantage of the technology that you have available to provide an efficient shopping experience for your customers and an efficient process internally for your team. And I think, the key of making that all work is that the technology needs to transcend both the physical and the digital showroom. The funny thing is, like, the road to the sale, today, the only thing that actually matters is the destination. There's a lot of different roads that a customer can travel to reach it. So what we need to do is we need to let them choose the route that works best for them.
Yeah. So chat me up here, Ron. So we're saying goodbye to digital retailing. We're ushering in the modern retail experience at the dealership. How can, our viewers, go down that road to modern retailing? Where's a good place to start?
So first of all, I would say we maybe need to visualize this in a way that people can understand. But, we talked about the fusion of the three things that are going to help build a modern retail experience, right? Like people, process, technology. And to visualize how this all is going to work, let's look at it as like a three-legged stool as an example. And there's marketing and operations that are at the core of just about everything that we do today, but certainly anything that's helping you drive, business to your store. But then there's this third thing that I don't think gets talked about enough as it should. And I think it's because it's nothing that any vendor can sell a dealership. And that is their dealership culture. And I think the dealer groups and the dealerships that get that right will really have the stability and the strength to drive the industry forward over the next decade. So let's talk about culture first, because I think to build a modern dealership experience, you need to kind of start with the culture. There's countless examples I've seen, stores big and small all around the country that thought that they had everything dialed in, but there was just something missing. And it's usually an issue with the culture of the sales team to adopt the types of things that the managers and the owners of the store want to put in place to help build this type of experience for their customers. And you can't buy a solution to that. The old way of doing things isn't going to work. So you have to change some of the process and operations, and you need that culture to facilitate that transformation. So the first thing that I think is really important is how you are empowering your team. So one of my favorite authors wrote a book called Drive, and it talks about how you can motivate your employees and make sure that they are highly engaged. And he talks about 3 principles: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So as you're building your team, think about how you're giving them autonomy to do their job in a way that maximizes their unique qualities and skills. And then think about, do they have the training and the collaboration to continue to refine and expand those skills or master their craft? And then how does all of that connect into the rest of the business? How does it allow them to have purpose in their role and impact the people that they work alongside and the customers that they get to help every single day?
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. And Val, feel free to chime in here too. You both work with dealers every single day in different capacities. I mean, are you starting to see them empower these teams to work their digital showrooms beyond just that, hey, let's just get them in mentality?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with COVID especially, I've seen a lot of dealers put a lot of effort into who they're hiring, how they're training, making sure that they're bringing people in. I mean, dealerships are an essential business now. There's a ton of opportunity to reshape culture and think about it differently.
One of the things that drives me crazy, I travel a ton, or I used to travel a ton, and I would go to dealerships all over the country, right? And I swear every time that I would pull up and park in front of a dealership, there was probably like 10 guys in the window or in the doorway, just like waiting for a customer to show up. And the thing that always like blew my mind was there are customers on your digital showroom right now that you should be talking to and you should be engaging with, right? The problem is those guys were never empowered to actually like embrace that and meet those customers where they are. Today, I'm seeing more and more dealers doing that and realizing that customers are not just showing up on the lot. Customers are on your website, they're engaging with your marketing, they're on all the different platforms where you have your vehicles listed. And now like having their teams able to actually reach those customers and give them a meaningful shopping experience across all of their digital properties, those are the dealers that are really winning and are going to continue to win over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really interesting point there, Ron, about, customers being on a digital showroom and maybe, salespeople not realizing that's happening. And that really, a lot of that comes down to training, which is something I know you're really passionate about in terms of training at the dealership.
Yeah, I mean, before I came to Dealer Inspire, I worked for a number of dealerships and dealer groups, and I sold a bunch of cars, and a lot of what I learned was somewhat of like trial by fire. But in today's world, especially as we're embracing these digital retailing solutions, I think we have to think about it a little bit differently, and we really have to put a focus on training. And the most successful dealers that I see, and I'm sure Val would attest to this, they're making training a core part of their culture. Training should not be something that you do the first week or two that somebody is employed at your dealership. And training isn't just sales and process focused. It really also needs to be looking at all of the technology that you have available to you and working with those providers to let them also be a resource to empower and educate your team. Because that's really, I think, where you're going to find, the best possible results when you're, trying to build out a modern retail experience.
Yeah, and a big part of that puzzle is the people, Ron. So is it just as simple as training your own people, or is there a resource of other people outside of your industry that you can bring in to be a part of your team? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, a big piece of the culture puzzle is figuring out how you can be a company that people want to work for. Perhaps the reason I think training and culture, is so important and needs to be, really based on learning is because, the car business has given me so much, and dealerships are a great place to work. There's great people there. They do so much for their communities. And on top of that, you can make an awful lot of money. So dealerships should be attracting the best possible candidates. They should be having, people that are in like the service industry, or, even people that are working for like an Apple store, as an example. I think the average Apple store employee makes somewhere around like $17 an hour. I mean, if you're looking for great people that can manage your digital showroom, help you embrace all of this great technology that you have at your fingertips, and take your dealership to the next level, I think that's a great place to start looking, because those types of individuals are really going to be able to help you make a cultural shift at your store. And I think that's where, the rubber kind of meets the road with all these things that we're talking about.
Absolutely. And that culture piece is really so important. But, this is a three-legged stool, and so all the legs do bear equal weight in developing a modern retailing experience. So let's talk about the operations leg here, which is your team and technology working together to provide a more efficient and effective shopping experience. Val, since we are limited on camera space here, can you do me a favor and turn your camera off? And we'll see you again soon. And let's get Jonah up on here. Jonah. Hey,
Jason,
there he is.
There's a bunch of smart people on this call, Jason. You are lucky. Ron,
oh my God, I am in webinar heaven right now as a host. I love all you guys so much. But you head up the team that develops Online Shopper, so I would say you are uniquely qualified to talk about the technology side of the operations leg. And I would just love, in general, to first get your thoughts on the tech.
Sure, I am unique, and qualified is up for debate. But technology, yeah. So we're talking operations. I love what you said. I think earlier about operations being technology and process. So when we think about technology today, we think about all the bells and whistles and the widgets and the gadgets and the things that we bring to NADA and other places to wow and get everyone interested. But really, technology's been around for quite some time. If I go back to when my father was selling cars in the early 90s, that dates me a bit. I was there hanging out, and he was more of a computer guy, and he tried out selling cars. And this was probably something like his desk looked like, right? Some clunky computer, which he was more interested in than the ups, which is probably why he wasn't very good at it. And a fax machine and a Rolodex and the things you can play with. It looks like there's billions of dollars on this calculator, so that business is doing well. And of course, your classic Foursquare that we all try to reinvent. So technology, right? It's interesting because it's kind of like buying a hammer to hang up pictures. And a lot of times we buy this hammer and we say, you know what, no pictures have been hung. I can't afford this hammer anymore. Let's get rid of it. But we never tried to use it. When you try to use the technology and you build a process in place for your people, you end up knowing a little bit more about if it's right for you, right? I need a framing hammer. I need a small hammer. I need a sledgehammer to stop me from talking about technology.
I never knew there were that many different kinds of hammers.
I didn't either until recently. And if you use the wrong hammer, you might put a hole in the wall, Jason. I don't know about your brick wall, but I could try. So yeah, that leads us to, where are we at today? And we've done a really good job, I think, as an industry and as dealerships and vendors, and saying, how can I make this easier to understand? And so we understood brick and mortar stores. We understood the digital road to the sale. And so we started equating everything back to that digital road to the sale. And I think there's value there. We said, hey, this person who's on your website, that's kind of like a walk-up. And this person who put in a lead, that's a phone up. I don't know. But what Ron alluded to earlier that I think is really powerful is we're finally learned enough to know the digital road to the sale is not as linear as walking through your dealership. It's not Saturday, I'm going to head down to the dealership and I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to spend about 6 hours and we're going to get this done. It's not, I'm going to go to the library to research my paper, which, dating myself again, in college, I probably had to go to the library and find a computer. I didn't have a computer in my hand. So I had to plan to get there. I had to get the book. I had to take notes. It was a process. It was a linear process. Today, if I want to know something, I can't say it too loud because they might hear me, but I'll ask Google or Alexa or Siri, and I'll do it in bits as I live my life. So this digital road to the sale, very interesting. We're learning now it's not as linear as we thought, which is kind of exciting.
It's very exciting, and so let's talk about this for a second. So, how does a shopper get the most out of a website experience, right? So, consider Nancy, for example. Here, she's in the market for a family and dog-friendly vehicle. She's already done her own needs analysis, and what she cares most about is that her next vehicle has all-wheel drive for the winter roads, syncs with her iPhone, and has a hands-free liftgate for her puppy to get in and out of, and she wants to lease it for around $400 a month. So, all this was decided before she ever made it to your dealership's website. How can technology align to the needs of this or any shopper?
That's a great question, and it can align very well to the needs of any shopper. It's just another example of us having to get the muscle memory around realizing how this works. Website personalization, I would say, goes a long way. If I know that Nancy, for example, is interested in Apple CarPlay. You said, I saw that she has a dog, so I'm learning some things about her. But she pulls out her iPhone and she goes to your website. I may not know a lot about Nancy right now. In the creepy world of digital, we know a lot about somebody, but I may not know much about her. She's coming to my site for the first time. I know she has an iPhone, so maybe my personalized message can be something about all the vehicles I have with Apple CarPlay. That if you think about it, Apple CarPlay Android for you and me, Jason, is something that's relatively new as standard on cars. Think about backup cams. They weren't standard until Honda, I think, was the first one who started making them standard in 2010. And now it's just a no-brainer that you have that. So it's important to show her, hey, this might be important to you. I see you have an iPhone. Apple CarPlay is where it's at. So even though we know nothing about her, we've maybe sparked that initial engagement with our store. And so continuing, new slide. Sorry, I got to pay attention to the pictures. Usually that's not a problem for me. I like picture books. But feature first inventory search. So another example of we just do it that way because we've always done it is a lot of websites that have search are down to trim level and things that the customer doesn't necessarily understand. I don't know about you, but I don't listen to the commercials and say, oh, that's an EX, that's an SE, that's the niche cases, right? My I don't know, maybe you're truck people or Jeep people, you know what that trim level is because you're a super fan. My brother with Camaros, he knew the difference by just hearing them. But she's interested, Nancy, we'll go back to her. She's interested in the features, not the trim level. So I'm a little surprised to see websites that make it difficult to find these features, to find the payments and the things that people we know are shopping for. But it's that change again, right? It's hard. So things like all-wheel drive, Apple CarPlay, hands-free liftgate, a heated steering wheel or heated seats. That's might be important if I've relocated my job to somewhere like where I live in the Northeast. These are important to people that are shopping because this is a luxury purchase in many cases. So a lease payment under $400 is really as simple as tapping a few icons on our pages. And that's just what people want, right?
Maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but why not? It's our webinar, right?
Yeah. We'll allow biases, Ron. Go ahead and say what's on your mind.
So I get a chance to work with some of the largest auto groups in the country. And it's always interesting to me to kind of see like all of the tech that's out there to help, customer have the most seamless shopping experience. And this features and like packages and like options discussion to me is one of the most important, because if you look back at like the digital road to the sale that we went through, right? Like the customer has done their own needs analysis. Now is the time for the walk around. And if you think about it, if the customer was in your showroom, right? What a lot of websites do is they basically just say, hey, the CRVs are over there. Go figure out which one you want, right? And let us know. But on our platform, we really make it easy with like the feature first quick filters to allow somebody to identify like this is the exact vehicle that meets my needs. And I think that's really where you start to see a higher engagement rate and a higher conversion rate. Because if you can take something that normally takes minutes or multiple visits or multiple websites and you can do it all on yours and it only takes seconds, like that's the type of experience that you win with.
Yeah, and I think the simplest way to say it is that the goal of your tech is to give shoppers and your team the ability to meet together where they are, right, Jonah?
For sure, yeah. I think it's 100%. The industry is, I would say, I'll use this word, nicely, but the industry's spoiled with some amazing technology. We produce amazing technology. Our competitors do as well. But I would go so far as to say that the industry is spoiled with some amazing people as well. And that's where operations is at. That's where operations becomes important, is that convergence of good people and good tech. Getting the most out of your digital platform, that's really the key to this operations leg, though. It's buying that hammer, using that hammer, and deciding what the best one is. And that is where we're at in modern retail.
Yeah, and talking about operations and talking about the tools, hammers, and things that you have available in your toolbox, and we're kind of been talking about this like needs analysis stage specifically. Feels like a good segue to chat a little bit about chat. So shortly after the pandemic hit, we saw usage of our messaging platform Conversations on car dealer websites increase dramatically. This is like one of my favorite charts to wheel out in presentations, because it just shows the behavior changing at a very specific moment. So the pandemic hits, chat skyrockets, and it's continued that usage pattern in as we're coming out of COVID here. But Jonah, just specifically, I know online shopper is your forte, but you dabble in the conversations as well. What have you seen happening on the chat front this past year?
Yeah, it's a good question. That chart is amazing. It shows that, that jump in, I think 20% of that jump was people talking about Tiger King, but the rest of it was talking about vehicles. But I mean, aside from those massive increases that we saw in conversations, shoppers treating chat like they would if they were talking to you, sometimes even on the phone, right? Maybe they weren't getting people on the phone, but if they walked in the door or via email, they started to really converse with the dealerships, getting detailed questions. They're asking, it's less, where are you located? I'm coming in, or what are your hours? It was more, all right, I have a question and I can't go into the dealership, so I'm going to ask you these more detailed questions on chat. This real life example here, so this is an actual chat that happened. The shopper's asking for a price on a pre-owned vehicle. It just hit the lot. The agent does her job, collects the information, which I think is great. Again, it's kind of like, go back to when phones were a big deal, right? Answering the phone, you need to be polite, you need to be kind, answer it a certain way, give them their information, and try to collect that, that lead. But this is a perfect example of a chat that really could have turned into an appointment with a more qualified person behind it. And if you have less floor traffic and if you have less people coming in, why not get those people on chat?
Yeah, and I think this is a big opportunity. Val, you don't need to turn your camera on here, but I hope you're still out there, and not to put you on the spot. But two quick questions off the top of your head about how many of our clients are handling their own chat during business hours, and on average, about how many chats do they receive?
So about 20% of our clients handle their own chats, and it's about 8 chats per person.
Okay. So thank you, Val. I appreciate that. So right there's like this huge opportunity. It'd be like deciding, hey, you know what? We're not going to answer our own phone anymore, or we're not going to respond to our own email anymore. While you're open and while you're available, take those chats, because you're going to have more of an opportunity to sell cars in the moment. Would you agree with that, Jonah?
100%, totally agree.
Well, good. I'm glad you agree, because you know what time it is. It is time for our first round of Whose Lead Is It Anyway, where the customers are made up and the commissions don't count. And Jonah, remember our shopper Nancy?
Yeah.
That we were just talking about?
Is this where Jason?
What's that?
Someone else's turn now?
No. She just started to chat with you.
All right,
Nancy wants to chat with you, Jonah. Are you ready to do this? This is live. This is real.
Sure.
Yeah. The chat, I'm sure, looks pretty straightforward to you, but Ron is such a good salesperson. He just sold the Tucson that Nancy was asking about. So you're going to have to find her a new one and set that appointment. Jonah, whose lead is it anyway? Let's go.
So I was already typing, but check it out. So there we go. I am going to go here. I'm looking for a new car. Is this timed, Jason?
It's everything is going to go into your point score.
All right. Just be
Quality
quiet
response.
while I focus on Nancy. All right. So Nancy's got a new Tucson Sport. She's already back at me. That's perfect. She loves it. All right. So we'll keep the monthly payment under $400. Cool. So I'm going to answer. Yep. I can definitely do that. You know who can't keep the monthly payment under $400 is someone who's not a salesperson for my store, right? So I'm going to tell you can actually, I'm going to try to spell correctly today.
So this is really slick. Jonah's actually, not only did he affirm that there's a vehicle available and that it can meet her needs, but now he's going to message Nancy saying, hey, you can actually dial in your own payments and start playing with it with Online Shopper by clicking that Show Payments button. That was slick, Jonah.
Yeah.
You're earning the points right now, my man.
That's using the technology, right? She loves it.
Amazing. Yes.
Okay.
Stop sharing your screen. Go finish the job. Get that contact info. We're going to put you up for an appointment on the big board. Ron knows what I'm talking about. Phil, can you bring the deck back up, sir? All right, so look, guys, I don't want you to miss that, and I just want you to be able to see how Jonah was able to move this customer forward in a way that no managed chat agent would be able to. He was empowered to discuss pricing. He had the expertise and knowledge to recommend another vehicle on the lot, like in the moment, and he had intimate knowledge of his website and the sales process, so he could confidently guide Nancy to the next steps. So that was really like perfect case on how this can all work right on your website. Perfect. And Val, welcome back. So what did you think? How did Jonah handle that chat?
Honestly, he did great, better than I think I would have done under the gun. And in the dealership, you just need great people to make this all work, because the skills and mentality that it takes to sell a customer over chat and online is different than what it takes to close them in store.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think dealers need to start thinking about having like a digital showroom department where a manager and maybe a few very tech savvy, very personable sales staff are really like manning the leads or the engagements that come through some of these tools. Because I think then you start to be able to have a little bit more oversight and quality control of these solutions. I honestly think now is the time to rethink the traditional like internet department or BDC, because just responding to a lead the old-fashioned way is no longer enough.
Right, and that's the trick for any modern retailing experience, right? Having the team, the technology, the training to virtually work deals, that's part of the battle, but then keeping customers engaged, re-engaged, and getting them moving down that road is just a huge part of the process as well. And you got to have these dedicated team members to do that, right, Ron?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you probably have some people at your dealership who are just great with walk-ins. You probably have some people at your store that are great handling internet leads. Just think about how you can, again, maximize their unique qualities and skills to allow them to be the best at their job.
Yeah, and ultimately, let's take that digital platform beyond lead gen and make it more operational and more transactional. Okay, Val, I'm so sorry for the musical cams here. It's a limitation of the platform and partly me as a host. But I think Jonah's all set. So again, if you could turn yours off and we can bring
all
Jonah
right,
back
all
on.
right.
Let's get Jonah back on here. There he goes. Nice job, Jonah. That's 3,000 points for you, my friend. And remember, for every 10,000 points you get playing Whose Lead Is It Anyway, that's a $25 Applebee's gift card for you. So right now you got like $6 worth of a bloomin' onion, my man. That's like pretty amazing. You're doing so good.
I would rather non-fungible tokens. So we'll talk about that offline.
All right, we'll negotiate afterwards. But keeping this thread going, I do want to talk about your Ballywick specifically. Yeah, I just said Ballywick. I don't even know if I used it right. Phil will tell me later if I did or I didn't. But you really built out Online Shopper to be a critical tool for both consumers and dealers. Can we just talk about that for a few?
Yeah, sure. I mean, our team has really created something here that I think is, on the edge of the wave of what's next. So getting leads and kind of the linear digital road to the sale is out the window. We've got something now where we can really collaborate. And that's the key, right? Is they're doing their research, everything online. What about that interaction? What about negotiating? What about presenting and counter offering? That's kind of the bee's knees right now. That's where it's at. So presenting them with options so that they can make and empower their decisions.
Right. So, so dealers can virtually work like these deals online with their customers, pulling all the same levers just like they were in the showroom. And you helped build that, which is amazing, my man.
We're building it every day. And, what's helping us build it is the shoppers and seeing what they're doing, and the dealers and getting their feedback, the ones who are actually using the hammer, as it were.
Yeah, and which is totally legit. And I'm glad to hear you say that, Jonah, because you know what?
What?
It's time for another round of Whose Lead Is It Anyway? And Jonah, I know you wish I was picking on Ron or Val right now, but Nancy, who you've been just had a conversation with, she took your advice and she created that garage for herself on Online Shopper. And I think you have an opportunity to go work this deal on your end. Are you ready to jump back in?
I am, but it's because it's Nancy, and that's my lead, and I'm getting the fire. I see what this is about with sales and dealerships. Like, I'm not letting Ron take this one away from me. I want that blooming onion.
Well, Ron never would have snaked a deal from you at the dealership. You don't need to worry about that. So if you want to share your screen again and just talk through what you see and what you're doing, let's see how it goes.
Sure. You can see these deals coming in real time. So I see Nancy's here, and I am going to take a look at what Nancy's got going on. Give me just 1 second here. View details, and I can see everything that Nancy's been doing. So I can see phone number, whether or not she had any email, her credit score range. I can also see her garage and kind of engage with her. So we're going to go ahead in the garage and look at that. She has added another vehicle. So that's kind of interesting to me. When we started on conversations, we had just the one vehicle. She indicated what she needed. Hang on a second. Take a look. So she's got a lease in here, 12,000 miles, $3,000 down. That's kind of exciting. And she's told me some of her needs. So what I am going to do, give me just one moment here. We just talked, I think, Jason, about kind of implied choice. So she's got two vehicles in here. I think it's a great idea to present other options, especially for shoppers online. Sometimes that empowers their decision or reinforces what they already thought, or gives them something else to think about and present to you as the expert, which we are. So I'm seeing this as a lease. I think perhaps maybe she's doing lease because she's trying to get in that payment. So I want to present something to her that is a finance payment.
Yeah, and that's something, Ron, you can attest to this on the sales floor. You know, here in Michigan, leasing was big, and it was the perception is that, hey, this is the least expensive way to get it. And they might not have realized that, hey, I can still finance this vehicle with, some, interest rates and not realize what they can get. So as a dealer, you would present those options, right? Which is exactly what Jonah's working on here.
Yeah, I think every dealer is always thinking, like, how can I present scenarios that either make the most sense for the customer or potentially make the most sense for the dealership, right? It's a balancing act. So having the flexibility inside of your tool to be able to do that is really key.
Right, because maybe on a finance, that bank is going to give you a little bit of a bigger, kickback on the back end than you would get on a lease. So you at least want to present that option to make sure that everybody is winning. So how you feeling about what you got here so far, Jonah?
Hey guys, yeah, feeling pretty good. So here I've added the vehicle in. I've got a finance at 60 months. And you'll notice my payments are about $400, and I know she wanted to be under $400 a month. So I'm going to add in her original not that much, down payment. And so my payment's under $400. I feel pretty good about that. It's a 60-month offer, and it's a similar vehicle to what she was looking for. So I'm just going to go ahead and save the edits right now. And you'll notice that's going to share with her garage as well. The deal was saved successfully. So not only do I have this vehicle saved in there, but when Nancy logs back in, she's going to see the vehicle and what I've presented to her. So we're going to get the conversation started. So that's not enough for me. If Nancy's not in her garage right now, I really want to bring her back. So because I have her phone number here, I'm going to click on that. I can engage with her right from the tool. It's basically just texting her. So I'm just going to try to be natural and shoot off a text to Nancy. Hey, Nancy, this is at ABC Hyundai. Saw you added a vehicle in your garage. I threw another one in there for you to consider. Let me know what you think. Click here. That's a link to her garage. So what's really cool about this is now when Nancy gets this text wherever she's at, whatever she's doing, when she has a moment, she can click that link. She's going to be taken right back into the garage. I'm going to send that off. And she'll be able to review whatever I just offered her. So think of this as the digital table, the digital deal room. I was able to present a counter offer to her. Nancy's got 3 things to consider. And I kind of love it because even if Nancy comes back with, no, I really am interested in the Tucson, or hey, that Santa Fe is really what I was going after. We've got a conversation going. So there's Nancy getting right back to me. You guys, I am not a salesperson, but I'm danger close to selling Nancy. So
that's 2,000 more points for you, my man. And I think you just demonstrated just how powerful of a tool Online Shopper can be as a part of this overall modern retailing experience. Jonah, turn your camera off, man. We put you through the ringer. You deserve a little bit of a break. No, Val and Ron are grateful that they didn't have to to handle those leads. Val, jump on here. And obviously we're talking about like this online portion of the experience, right? But the experience doesn't just end online, right?
No, it doesn't. And what I really love about the entire online experience is that it directly translates to the showroom or the living room. I mean, I can be at my kitchen behind me, I can be on my couch, I can be at my porch, and then everything that I do with an online shopper, it can just be quickly pulled up at any kiosk, computer, tablet, phone. You can keep the process moving quickly ahead. I get consistency from my living room to your showroom. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. We are getting close on time here. So let's keep it moving. And let's wrap things up by talking about the third leg of our stool here. And that's your marketing and how you can get this message of your modern retailing experience out to customers and prospects. And look, one of the biggest opportunities you have as a car dealer is to move beyond marketing your offers and your hooks and start telling people about the experience that you've created. Ron, chat me up about this. I think I said like chat me up 4 times now to you. Ron, talk to me about this.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy how when you look at the difference in marketing messages between like the Vroomvanas of the world versus a lot of dealership websites, you know, the big, you know, the Vroomvanas of the world, they lean heavy into like the offer or sort of the convenience and you know, the experience, whereas dealers are still very focused on like price and payment, right? And I think that you know, these big players are seeing that and they're really exploiting it. And I think, you know, we have to sort of think about our marketing a little bit differently and lean more into the experience and the convenience factor that a dealership can provide. Because the irony of all of this is the Vroomvanas of the world are actually nothing more than call centers, right? But the messages that they present to the customers are all about the experience. And every car dealer out there, you have a huge advantage over them because you all have the same and usually better technology than they do. But maybe most importantly, you are local. And a modern retailing experience, I think, combines online and in-store aspects of car shopping to provide the ultimate balance of convenience. Meaning people can engage with the website and go as far along in the purchase process as they're comfortable with online. And then if they prefer to wrap things up at the dealership, they can do that. If they, you know, need to test drive maybe a couple different trim levels, or maybe they're trying to, you know, figure out which engine type is the best for them, those kind of things, like you can provide that. And you know, these Vroomvanas or whatever you want to call them, like they can't, right? But the key is like leaning in to your advertising, your marketing messages to promote that you can do it online or local, and it's going to be convenient, it's going to be fast, it's going to be easy.
Yeah, and beyond like the anecdotal evidence, we have, you know, data that just really backs up these type of messages are resonating with folks as well. So some of the most engaged with video advertising we run for our clients, it's centered on brand tail or consumer experience messages, not offers and hooks. So when it comes to, you know, getting the word out about your modern retailing experience, a great place to start is by targeting a pure local in-market audience of car shoppers with Fuel IMV. Look, I'm not trying to get pitchy with it here, kids, but it's my webinar. I'll do what I want. The 10-second download of Fuel IMV is that allows you to target local in-market shoppers who are on cars.com and serve them with relevant video ads across channels and devices. So we're not just talking YouTube and video here, but all the popular over-the-top and other video streaming apps as well. Ron, you've actually got a pretty compelling case study about Fuel IMV, don't you?
Yeah, I think what you just described is what I always like to call a modern media mix, and the dealer groups that I think are deploying that in the best possible way are having some very great results from it. Walzer Automotive Group, which is a great client of ours, is a perfect example of this here. They were one of the early adopters of Fuel IMV, and we've seen some amazing success for them in the first 3 months that they were using Fuel IMV. And our first party data that we just talked about, we helped them increase their market share by over 5%.
Which is just nutty. I mean, that's a huge number, and they're just running experience-based offers, experience-based messages, not offers, and they managed to get that kind of growth and sustain that is nuts. And while targeting in-market shoppers with video is great, you also need to back that up with that modern media mix, like Ryan was talking about, by being able to capture shopper intent across multiple channels. We actually have a couple webinars in the archive that can give you a tactical guide to marketing your modern retailing experience across paid, organic, social, and email channels to really push things forward. I highly recommend when you have some time, you head on over to dealerinspire.com and check out those webinars and really get the full picture of everything we're talking about here. You know what? I'm going to turn my camera off here. Let's try to do some multitasking here to close this out because I wanted to revisit our three-legged stool here. So, Ron, what happens if you don't define a culture of what your modern retailing experience should be, like this vision for everyone to follow?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to end up with some very awkward and disconnected experiences. And customers are going to be driven to your website, and the advertising that they saw, that they engaged with, that got them there, isn't going to necessarily align with what they're going to get. And they won't call ahead of time. They'll maybe just show up, right? Like, and when they're greeted by a salesperson, there's a pretty good chance that they'll be put into the traditional road to the sale. And it'll feel like they're just starting back at square one, and it's going to make them feel like all the things they did prior really didn't have an impact.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Jonah, what happens if we take away this operations leg of the stool, which is your team and your tech?
Well, you're going to fall down, right? So your marketing messages, like Ron was saying, they just don't connect. The customer gets to your site and the tools aren't there. So we talked about the tools and technology. Then the ones who get to your site and start engaging with you, you're not going to have the right trained team members behind that. So that process is broken. Ultimately, customers are left with empty promises, broken dreams, and your marketing could not deliver in store.
Yeah, and that gives everyone a sad there. And lastly, Val, what happens if you take away the marketing leg of our stool here?
Well, nobody's going to know all the cool things that you're doing. I mean, you'll have a culture that embraces modern retailing. You'll have a team and the tech to meet people where they are. But if you don't market any of that in a meaningful way with consumer experience messaging, nobody's going to discover all of the things that you can do to help them in the car buying process. So it turns your stool upside down in a way, because you're going to invest all this time into your people and your operations. Nobody's going to find you.
Yeah, and it's true, everybody. You really have to have all three of these things if you want to be successful in this new era of modern retailing. It's not just a tool you bolt onto your website. And honestly, it was always way more than that. It's about your culture, your operations, and your marketing working together online and in-store to support the continued growth of your business month in and month out. And if you don't have one of those three legs, Jonah already said it, but I'm going to say it again, you're going to fall on your ass, and it's not going to feel good. So that brings us to the end of the day, everybody. Were you taking notes? Did you grab some screenshots? I hope you did. The road to a modern retailing experience for you starts today. Be sure to head on over to dealerinspire.com/online shopper to demo our retailing technology. And while you're there, check out the Dealer Inspire blog for more related content on how to maximize your retailing experience. So, Val, Ron, you guys were amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Jonah, I'm sorry, but you are the Whose Lead Is Anyway champion. I'm going to send you a little trophy that you can put on your mantle. You'll always have that. Hold it near to your heart. And I got a $25 Applebee's gift card so you can get those bloomin' onions that I know you love so much. And thank you guys for watching, for making the time to be here today. And remember, we are always here to help. Our contact information is up on the screen. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time on our next Dealer Inspire webinar. Bye, everybody. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
One.
And cut the webinar.